Here are 4 things you need to know before buying a $2 million property. Many homeowners out there manage to buy their first $2 million property. And while you are planning your first $1 million purchase, you could potentially be blindsided if you miss out crucial details. But what do we need to look out for? Smart buyers ensure that they have their numbers calculated and set aside before purchasing. And in this video, we will walk through them all. First, you need to know how much capital is required. So when buying property, you need 25% down payment and 75% is financed by your loan. So for $2 million property, your down payment is $500,000. So your initial 5%, right, you have to use cash. So this is actually regulated by MAS. And then your remaining 20%, you can either use cash or CPF. Buyer stamp duty is basically a tax paid on documents when you buy or acquire a property located in Singapore. So you can refer to the table here. It's basically a tier-based rates up to 6%. So in this case of a $2 million property, right, your buyer stamp duty actually goes up to $69,600. So there is a simple way to actually calculate the buyer stamp duty. Basically, you just take 2 million times 5% minus 30,400. Of course, there is a simple way you can just get an agent to actually calculate for you. And then you have your legal fees, which is ranging from 2,500 to 3,500 depending on the law firm that you actually engage. So after understanding your capital required, what you need to find out next is your ability, or rather your purchasing power. So it comes down to point number 2, which is your loan eligibility. To purchase a property in Singapore, you need to understand bank uses this ratio called total debt servicing ratio. It basically means taking your combined income multiplied by 55%, and it is to limit your monthly debt repayment. Of course, if you currently have any outstanding loans like your property loan, personal credit card loan, or any car loan, any form of loan, will impact your loan amount greatly. So it's calculated at 4% floor rate, max tenure of 30 years, up to 65 years old. As I mentioned earlier, any personal loan, car loan, or rental loan will greatly impact your loan eligibility. And earlier we spoke that we are going to down pay $500,000 for a $2 million property, meaning to say your loan you would require to hit $1.5 million in order to qualify for a $2 million purchase. So the question would be, how much do you need to qualify for a $2 million property? Assuming you have a car loan of $1,004, you need to have a combined income of $15,600. Of course, the income also depends on the age that you are currently at, because age matters a lot. Assuming you are 35 years old, your max loan is actually at 1.503 million, which is just nice hitting the required loan amount. And if you are at 40 years old, your loan sum actually dropped at least 140,000. And by the time you hit age 50, right, you can actually see that your max loan is now below 1 million. So between age 35 and 50, right, you need to top up at least 500,000 more on top of your initial 500k for your down payment. As you age, it's actually more difficult for you to purchase a property. So after finding out your loan eligibility, next you need to understand what is the cost to maintain the property. So first of all, you need to understand what is your monthly commitments, like your maintenance fees, your property tax, your monthly mortgage installment, and perhaps you have other commitments like your insurance, your parents' allowance, and maybe your children's education. Okay, so now let's do a case study together. We are using the Topiary, which is a EC at Fernvale. So the example we are going to use is a 4-room, 4-bedder, 1389 square feet. Currently is transacting around 2 million. Assuming you're age 35, income of 15,600 with a car loan of 1,400. Current interest rate is between 2.2 to 2.3%. Of course, the interest rate might vary, so I'm just using this as an example for this case study. So this will bring your monthly mortgage up to 5,695. And the MCST's let estimate is around $400. And your property tax is around $186 per month. So how did I get this value is based on the annual value that I estimated, which should be around $55,056. Your annual tax is around $2,225 per annum. If you want to find out more on this, you can probably go to IRAS and check it out on your own. If not, you can just drop in the comment section and I'm glad to help. Okay, so this will bring your grand total to 6,281. Okay, assuming you are 35 years old, combined income of 15,600. Your take home is 12,480 after deducting 20% CPF contribution. And with a monthly commitment of 6,281 into your property, and your monthly CPF OA contribution, which will add up to $3,108. Currently, CPF ordinary wage is capped at 7,400, so you take that times 21% times 2%, so it will go up to 3,108. Then you take your monthly commitment deducted by the CPF OA contribution. You have a cash top up of $3,173. Your cash balance after the cash top up, right, is roughly $9,307. And to calculate the percentage of your take home pay allocated to the real estate, right, you just take your cash top up divided by the take home pay and times 100, which brings you to 25.42%. And whether it makes sense to have 25% of your take home pay allocated to real estate, to me, I will say yes. Because Singapore, on average, the asset allocation to real estate based on bank research, right, is between 30 to 40%. So allocating 24% of your take home pay to real estate, to me, is quite reasonable. However, 24% is reasonable in theory. But if you personally think it's a stretch, you may consider other options. Which brings me to my final question. Should you buy a $2 million property based on that income? Before I go into that, if you find this video helpful so far, please consider subscribing to my channel because it's just a click away and it will help me too. So, should you buy a $2 million property? I will say no, you should not. You should apply 20% buffer because being prudent is something that can help you a lot during uncertain times and you can still sleep well if anything were to happen. So here's my recommendation. Applying 20% buffer means you qualify for a $2 million property based on your loan eligibility. I would advise you to buy at $1.6 million. Using the same example from earlier case study, everything stays the same. Your monthly mortgage actually drops to $4,556. Look at your loan installment of 4,556, MCST around 400, your property tax roughly around $186. Your grand total brings you up to 5,142. Assuming you're 35, combined income of 15,600, your take home pay remains the same. Your monthly commitment now is 5,142. Your CPF contribution remains the same. Your cash top up now only requires you to fork out $2,034. And if I were to put them side by side, you can actually see the difference in your allocation. From 25.42%, it drops down to 16.29%. And if you look at the money balance, right, after applying the 20% buffer, your money take home now, you can actually see 10k compared to the usual. If you stretch 2 million, right, you actually just take 9,307. Basically, you are having additional 12k per year. which I think is a prudent way to approach when you are purchasing your property, and you can choose to travel to Japan maybe 2 to 3 times a year. If you watched all the way here, thank you for your support. Hope the video has provided you some insights before buying a property. As always, if you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, and comment down below if you have any questions. See you in the next video. Bye!